Okay, hey guys, so before we get into the video, I just want to let everyone know that I'm going to be getting into account takeovers. So as a thank you for all the support I've been given in this channel so far, I want to start out with 2 free ones. So to enter, all you got to do is be a subscriber on the channel and comment down below. I'm going to be picking 2 random winners of this video. And then going forward, I'm going to be doing 2 free ones every 1,000 subscribers. And if you don't get picked, feel free to check out my Discord. It's linked down below. All the specifics are laid out there. So with that out of the way, let's get into the video. All right, hey guys, how's it going? It's Kire here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. And in today's video, I want to break down some characters that are great for progression. And specifically around that phase when you have a few 60s, you already got your farmer, you're going to be pushing for, you're just trying to get Dragon 20 done, like probably brutal clan boss, like brutal/nightmare. You're trying to get to that level of clan boss. This is definitely brutal phase of clan boss. To make your runs more consistent and more safe during Dragon. And the reason why I want to bring it up is because I've been noticing the characters that a lot of people, like myself included, all recommend might not necessarily be characters that they're still good, but they're not going to really work for you until later when you have better gear, better characters to support them, to let them actually shine. For example, when my first epic that I ever pulled was Royal Guard, and Royal Guard is on the top of many people's lists, but because he's very specific, you need to have really good gear. You need to have people that can keep him safe. He needs to do enough damage to be able to support him being on the team, because he's still going to get one shot. Even in my phase, like at my stage of the game, if they get a turn and they attack Royal Guard, probably going to die. But I have Arbiter, I have other characters that can take over, but back when I was trying to progress, if he died, he was just useless and I might not be able to finish the dragon. This is before you have any rezzers, stuff like that. So that's why I want to talk about progression, because I think it's going to help out in the situations where people are recommending all these characters. People might be using all these high damage dealers, but they're not ready for them yet. And so this is going to be the list. I feel like it was important that I say that. So that's what this list is for. It's for that phase of the game where survivability is significantly more important than damage. So let's get into the list. Okay, so the first character is actually a very accessible one. He was on the battle pass, and it's going to be Stag Knight. The reason why I like him so much is because he's very similar to Madame Saris. Madame Saris is a fantastic character, one of the best in the game, but he's a accessible version, guaranteed version if you did the battle pass. He has a very good chance of placing a decreased defense and a decreased attack. So the key thing is he's doing the decreased defense and the decreased attack portion. Decreased attack is going to help out in survivability on the waves. I'm thinking trying to progress to mainly Dragon 20, but this is also going to apply to other stuff as well. If you're trying to do Fire Knight, if you're trying to do Spider, it's very helpful to have this decreased attack part of that. Going to help with surviving through that, and then having that combined with decreased defense is fantastic. He has good typing. He probably not the best typing for Dragon, but for other phases of the game that normally finding good typing for is tough, he's gonna come up pretty clutch. Then I do want to touch on really quick the better version of him, which is going to be Madame Saris. Better version of him, which is Madame Saris. So what makes her so much better is that better other moves in the kit, and then also it just has an objectively better move that's similar, which is removes all buffs and then places a 50% decreased attack and a 60% decreased defense for 3 turns. So it's even a longer buff, and then if you with masters you can get it to even a 4 turn. So fantastic. Other parts of her kit, her kit's just absolutely insane all the way around, but that's the main part of it that Stag Knight is very similar to. So next I want to talk about another kind of style or kind of sub niche of characters that are really good for this is going to be attack down. I realize that characters that have attack down on their basic, like very classic characters that a lot of people recommend, are also very good for progression because their kits just really lend themselves to being good in progression. So specifically, it's going to be Sentinel, Jareg, and Tyrell. And the 2 I want to highlight are going to be Sindelle and Jareg, because their kits are fantastic for this part in the game. First of all, when it comes to Sentinel specifically, it's going to be a great aura, And then you also have this increased defense and a block debuff buff. Fantastic for progression. Then a really interesting and unique passive here, which is has a, what is it? 50? Yeah, 50% when booked, chance of completely blocking incoming damage when an ally is attacked. And then has the decreased attack on the A1, which is going to be good for Dragon, which is going to be good for Clan Boss. Like this character is going to be fantastic for both phases. And then you'll be able to bring, and even the increased defense plus block debuffs is even good in arena. It's good in every part in the game. It's just an awesome ability that they made very accessible. And then another one that's really good, that's very similar, is going to be Jareg here. So Jareg has the decreased attack on the A1, but then also has ally protection plus increased defense. I remember when I was trying to do Dragon for the first time, it was I really liked having this ally protection plus the increased defense. I was using Nizana and I was using Nizana and Steel Skull, and I needed the increased defense and the ally protection if one of my squishier characters were to survive. And having that combination is fantastic. Plus having this continuous heal on here too when people get hurt every turn. It's just awesome. And then you can take him into Clan Boss as well. So you're investing in a character that can apply for Clan Boss and for Dragon and for other parts of the game too. So just awesome. And then lastly is going to be Tyrell. I would say for progression out of all those three characters, first of all, the Sentinel chick, she was accessible in a fusion. Jareg and Tyrell you'd have to pull, but I think they're still better, even though Sentinel's more accessible. Whereas Tyrell, awesome character, super good, a little different he's more of a damage base because he has the decreased defense, but doesn't really have the decreased attack, and he does not apply the decreased attack, or doesn't apply own survivability unless you count the decreased attack portion on his A1. But his AoE stuff is all offensive. So he has a decreased defense here and has turn meter manipulation, which is really awesome, especially if you're still doing like Minotaur. If you're still on Minotaur, I would say he's better. But when it comes to Dragon, when it comes to Clan Boss, and then I like the other two characters a little bit more. So he's still very good. It's probably like a 1A, 1B, 1C type deal. All very good. He has the aura as well for increased defense. So they're all very close. I do like having the combination of a character that has increased defense and decreased attack in this situation, especially when you start to factor Clan Boss in the equation. But for progression, all three of those are going to be fantastic. And so then next on the list, I feel like he needs to be covered. He's an epic character that is, widely talked about. Awesome character. It's going to be Schoolcrusher here. He's the only epic that has counterattack. I don't want to touch on him too much. He's just overall fantastic. I think people have pointed him out enough. There's been a ton of videos about how good Schoolcrusher is. He has this unique passive here where when he's he decreases the duration of debuffs on him. So if he has a 1-turn stun, it completely wipes it. He has other stuff too, completely wipes it. But the main one is stun because of Clan Boss. So just amazing character, really good for progression, really good for late game. Just overall really great. But specifically for a list on progression, I think he needs to be talked about just because he's so good. But he's been talked about so much that I don't want to spend too much time on him. Okay, and then another one. So this next one on the list is going to be Verges here. So when I was progressing, he was completely garbage, just got buffed. I'm kind of theory crafting here. I haven't really tried it myself. It's hard to relate back to progressing, especially when your account gets more and more advanced with like higher, town hall and stuff like that, or great hall. It's hard to really get back into that mode. But just looking at his kit, this is all the stuff you would ever want from a character when you're trying to progress, when you're trying to have that carry role to push you through dungeons without people dying, which is his A1, which gives reflect damage buff to a random ally, which is it's okay. On a basic, you're not really expecting too much anyway, but he has a cool combo of a great ally defense aura in dungeons, and then he has this A2, which is places a 15% continuous heal buff, 30% increased speed, and reflect damage on a target ally for 3 turns, and then also places a 50% ally protection buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns. It places a 60% increased defense buff on this champion for 2 turns. So he's trying to take all the aggro specifically for Dragon 20. I like his typing. His typing is great because he's already trying to be the tank, and then you're making him an off affinity, so he's going to take a lot of aggro, which I think is really cool for Dragon, especially if you have other characters you want to keep alive. He's going to have a lot of aggro specifically because of his aura, because he's going to be in the lead. That's a priority, and he's off typing. That's another priority. Then you want him to take damage anyway, so that's really cool. And then he has this passive that is proactively placing a shield and continuous heal buffs as he takes damage. So I think that's really cool. Massive buff. You mean it's for a lot of late game players, a lot of content creators. He's absolutely useless for someone in like my position or someone in a lot of people's positions when they're at this stage of the game. But if you're progressing, I think he's fantastic. So it's like, I think there's a disconnect there from content creators to seeing these new changes. It's hard to get excited for them because he's not made for someone in the late game aspect of the game. And then, so next, the one that comes to mind is going to be Infernal Baroness here. I just really like the combination of, I really like, especially for carries like this, having this AoE A1 is nice because then you can combine it with like stun sets. You can combine it with days, CC style gear sets to really help with controlling the enemy waves, especially when they are really strong compared to how good your gear is. I do want to say that's not my main factor when I'm looking at a character like this, because it is a little unfair to talk about progression and then also bring up like day sets and stun sets and stuff like that, because you're trying to beat those bosses so you can get that gear. You're probably not going to have that gear. So I want to add that factor, but that's not my main reasoning for picking her. I just like the combination of that. Plus, it's even on its own, it heals the ally with the lowest HP, which is great. And then also has this perfect veil buff on an ally for 3 turns. Like a lot of this is going to be cycling cooldowns to try to make sure your team is surviving. Having this kind of spot a heal, if you will, to prevent aggro is going to be awesome to making sure your team doesn't die. Especially for a lot of people, when they're progressing, they're not going to have characters that revive. So I really like that. And then Nizana, honorable mention. When I first had her, when I first got her, I really liked her, but she falls off pretty hard in my opinion. She takes a ton of books, but she does have a good kit in the sense that she has this places ally protection buff, and then she has the decreased attack. I just think when I had her, Infernal Baroness did not exist. You could argue that she could be like an off affinity tank for Spider, stuff like that. But I just think Infernal Baroness is better. But they both serve the same role. I'm just not as excited as I am about Nizana as I used to be, but still good for progression. She also has the AoE A1 that you could throw Daze set, stun set on as well. And then, no, okay, that doesn't count. The faction set doesn't really count. Also, if you do pull her, I should bring up, I forgot to mention her, but Padma is actually really great for progression if you happen to pull her early. Cool thing about her is that she's very similar to Tayrel, Jareg, and Sentinel with their A1s, but hers is a little better when it comes to progression because it's an AoE version of that attack down, which is awesome. So I've gotten her, I've been using her in Faction Wars. I think it's really cool. This A3 hits like an absolute truck, but yeah, this A3 hits hilariously hard. And then she has this move here too, like a good AoE that does solid damage, but good character. I like her a lot. It's cool that they've gotten attack down characters in pretty much in an epic version in all the different affinities. So you got the Void version in her, you got the Magic in Tayrel, you got the Force in Sentinel, and then you got, what is it? And Jareg, I think, is also Magic, right? Maybe I'm wrong. There's no green version of an attack down on an A1, but whatever. They got a lot of options, and then you got all 10 as the legendary version. But I think that's kind of cool. Yeah, he's not green. Yeah, he's blue. Okay, so there are two blues. Void. But okay. So next on the list is going to be for Progression, we got the two characters very similar in Gore Grab and Seeker. I think as a character, they both definitely serve their pros and cons, especially when it comes to progression. I think Gore Grab is a better character for progression because yes, his aura is like an arena style, but he has the revive, which is just makes him better. It's a really good insurance policy. He can revive if some random crits happen, the aggro changes, your cooldowns don't come up on time. Having this revive is a fantastic insurance policy. Then plus having this turn meter fill is great as well. So if you can pull Gore Grab early, he's not just an arena character. I think he's really good for that kind of mid-game-ish progression. And then Seeker I really like too. He doesn't have the revive, but he does have a really good passive in if heals champions by 20% HP and places a 60% increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns when critically hit. So if he takes damage, he's giving this increased defense buff, especially if you take an AoE, and it's happening before damage is calculated, which is awesome. So super good. Has and then a good turn meter fill. So he has a 30% version of the turn meter fill plus an attack up, whereas Gore Grab only has a 15% version, which is a massive difference. But he doesn't have the revive. So they're both definitely pros and cons. I like, especially early, I'm definitely going to go with Gore Grab as the one I would rather have. But then later in the game, I definitely like Seeker more. And then, okay. And then, so Knight Revenant has a ton of options here. So that the big classic, 100% like S tier version of a progression character is definitely going to be Miscreated Monster. He's 100% probably the most game-changing version of an epic that you can pull for progression. He's going to get you through Spider. He's going to get you through every single form of content with his shield here. Yeah, the Spider, Dragon, all of it. He's just great. Like the one thing he's probably not going to be the best on is going to be Clan Boss, but literally any form of pushing through dungeon content, he's going to definitely help out with that a ton. You see it a whole bunch in people's count takeovers. They're definitely going to be pushing for Miscreated Monster. I think there's even memes on Reddit about like people doing account takeovers and then they're like, oh, he's going for Miscreated Monster. So to give you an idea of just how good he is. But the combination of the shield plus the continuous heal, so he's just awesome. There's no need to talk about him. He's just amazing for this. And then another one that I want to bring up is Doom Priest. I think Doom Priest is a really unique and awesome character with this essentially her whole kit is just her passive, essentially, which is, so you look at her other moves, it's attacks on enemy. If this hit is critical, places 15% increased crit rate buff. So on a random ally, so randomly and kind of garbage. Then just a pretty standard places a 50% increase attack buff on allies for 2 turns. So it's like usually characters have more than just that. But here's where she comes up as a really cool character is her passive here, which is heals all allies by 7.5% of their HP and removes 1 random debuff from them at the start of this champion's turn. So not only is she healing passively, she's also removing debuffs. So if they get stunned, if they get, poisons on them, whatever, it doesn't matter. She cleanses them whenever she goes. So put her in a ton of speed, have her go a million turns. She'll keep your team topped up and cleansed as much as possible. Very good alternative to some other healers if you don't have them. And then, so even if you do have, she's just good. I'm not trying to say like she should get replaced, but she's just very good. Then also on this list too was Sentinel over here. And then, so I think that's about it when it comes to progression. Like Golden Reaper is great, but I think Apothecary is better. Like I was really sold on this Golden Reaper train, tried her out, and then I had Apothecary. And it's like, if you have Apothecary, I would just stick with Apothecary. She's definitely not worth the epic books. But she is a good character. She's very similar to Apothecary. Difference being the A1, and she has a little bit more turn meter boost. But she just wasn't good enough difference to justify it. And then lastly, another really good carry is going to be Rearguard Sergeant here. Reason being is because she has this attacks all enemies and then a decreased attack debuff, and then also has this ally protection buff and with the continuous heal. So it's really cool to have the combination of you'll see You'll see ally protection with a shield. You'll see ally protection with the increased defense. You'll see ally protection with a continuous heal, like in this scenario. My two favorite versions of it are when it's with a continuous heal or with a shield. Because with a shield, you mean obviously it's preventing the damage, and then with this, it's healing the damage. So having that built in, not only am I helping my team survive, but then I'm replenishing that myself without needing like lifesteal or another healer is really good. It makes her. She's super good at keeping the rest of your team alive. So fantastic character. And then lastly, it has a decreased defense on an A1 just to round out a really solid kit here. So, all right. I think those are the main ones. I think those are really, if you pulled any of these epics, they're really going to help you push through this kind of mid-ish game content to push you through Dragon, push you through better places or better levels in Fire Knight. So I think they're really good characters. I know, definitely not a comprehensive list. I know there's a lot of other good epics out there, but for this very specific scenario, I think these are going to be some of the staple characters, and that's what I want to bring up and highlight them. So if you have them, you know what to look for. You know you should be getting them up, and hopefully get you through the dragon, or get you through the higher level dungeon stages. All right, guys. Well, that should do it for me in this video. Hopefully you guys found that helpful. Also, another reminder, like I was saying in the beginning of the video, be sure to subscribe and comment on the channel so you can enter into the giveaway for the account takeover. And with that, you guys have a good one. Peace.